Please welcome to the Imus Morning program, Donald Trump. Good morning, Donald. How are you?
Good morning, Don.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Did you watch the debate last night?
I did.
Tell me what you thought.
Well, I thought, there was no big knockout, but I actually thought Mitt Romney did by far the best. I didn't think Santorum had a good night. I thought Romney actually did the best. Ron Paul, let's not even discuss it, although he's certainly an interesting, quirky guy. And I thought also Newt Gingrich was pretty good. I thought he was good. He's got that big picture, and he's a good debater, always has been. He had a couple of weak debates against Romney in Florida, but he's really had some pretty good debates. Let's face it. So I thought he was good. I thought Romney was the winner of the debate.
I thought I used to think that Ron Paul was that's way too weird for me and kind of like a Martian, but I don't think he's going to be president. But I've gotten where I kind of like him.
Well, he's a quirky guy, and he's got some good things going. I think his Leave Iran alone is not working. That's not going good. I can't imagine that, people loving that. And I get what he's saying, but I can't imagine a lot of people liking that. I don't. But he certainly adds a little interest and a little flavor.
I was talking with somebody the other day about China, and I said, I agree with Trump.
Right.
Tell him, because of the reason it came up, we were talking about Joe Biden, and, the vice premier of China was here, Xi Jinping, or whatever his name is. And Biden gets up and gives that speech, and it sounded to me, and I don't know that much about it, not as much as you or anybody else does, but it seemed to me like a dog and pony show, like he wasn't really serious. And I said to this person, well, they ought to do what Trump says they should do. And somebody said, well, they can't do that. So first of all, tell me, what would you say to China? Because we have this apparently $300 billion trade deficit.
Right.
One, what would you say to them? And two, why can't we say that?
Well, it's beyond a deficit. They make more than $300 billion on us each year. They manipulate their debt. They make our products, because that's why, when they talk about unemployment in this country, it's ridiculous. I mean, the jobs are going to other countries, China in particular. And you certainly don't hold state dinners for people that manipulate their debt in order to hurt you. And that's what they do. And it's amazing because we have all the cards. People are not so smart in some cases. Certainly the administration is not smart. And it's amazing to me. We have all of the cards, and they don't understand that. And you have these guys coming over, the vice president and the president, and we give them these magnificent state dinners. And, when people are doing numbers on you, you don't give them state dinners. And that's exactly what's happening here, Don. So it's an absolute problem, the way we're dealing. And, again, we're going to lose this year more than $300 billion, not mentioning jobs, not mentioning the fact that they then take the money and loan it back to us and we pay them interest. Hard to believe. And the reason we have the cards is because they sell to us. We don't sell to them by any comparison. I mean, it's so little, relatively speaking. It's 10 to 1, and in some cases probably more than that. The other thing about China is they tax our products. We don't tax them. A friend of mine called up. He sells luxury products. He said, oh, man, China just put a luxury tax on us. I said, does anyone know that? He doesn't. He's a business guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't think of it. He doesn't call you and tell you, but he tells me about a luxury tax. And you saw a few months ago where they put a tax on the SUVs and trucks that are being sold in China. So it's really I consider it to be one of the biggest problems. And OPEC, you go back to OPEC where they are having a field day. Where do you see your gasoline bill this summer? It's going to be $6, $7 a gallon. Nobody's there to say, fellas.
But I'm not clear. I'm sorry. What would you say to them? What would you say to China?
I would say to China, fellas, and I wouldn't do it at a state dinner, I would say, fellas, you better get over here because we're going to institute a tax on all of your products coming into this country of 25%. And you're going to pay the tax. And by the way, if you don't pay the tax, that's okay because we'll end up making the products in this country. And you're going to stop manipulating your currency because it's impossible for our companies to compete with China. I mean, I have contractors coming in, and they are crying the blues all the time because the currency manipulation in China makes it impossible to compete. By the way, if you want to do business in China, it's very, very hard. If they want to do business here, it's real easy.
Well, what's to keep China from saying, Well, fine, you're going to jump ugly with us. Give us back the money you borrowed from us.
Because the money that we borrowed is relatively small compared to the kind of economies that you're talking about. When you have $1.2 trillion in borrowing, it sounds like a lot. First of all, they can't ask for it back. They have a period of time. You know, it's not like, oh, gee, give me the money. They signed a document where they get their money back whenever it expires, and that expiration isn't for a while. So we get time. But there are lots of ways of handling that. Look, nobody knows more about banks than I do, and trust me, it's their problem, not our problem.
I'll always remember, Donald Trump here in the national program, 19 till the hour. I'll always remember, I can't remember what it was. Well, I'll always remember, now I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I remember what you did, which I thought was really pretty slick. It was back in the 80s and the 90s, whatever the hell it was. You said to the banks, look, you got a bigger problem with me than I got with you. It's in your interest to work it out, and they did.
I said, you have a big problem, folks. Let's sit down and work it out. And they did, and they were great. I still have the same banks. I use the same people. I mean, and we're doing unbelievable business, as you know. And we have, I've built a great company, a really great company. I will tell you, when I first started talking to you years and years ago, I had a very levered company. But, that's turned into a great company with very little debt, lots of cash, great assets. I can't think of many people that have better assets. And, I'm very proud of that. It's good. In fact, in my book, my last book, Time to Get Tough, I filled out the financial disclosure page, and I said, you know what I'll do? I'll put the summary sheets in the book. I actually told them about my company. For the first time, nobody really knows about my company.
Yeah.
And I put the financial disclosure in the book because I'm proud of it. I built a great company, and it's, that's what should happen with this country.
Well, my only point is, and maybe I'm not making a very good point, probably not.
You're doing beautifully.
But my point was that you one wouldn't think, I wouldn't think, well, I'm not you or other people are. One wouldn't think if one owes a bunch of money to the bank that they would go to the bank and say, look, you got a problem, not me. So that worked when you did that. And what you're saying is that maybe I'm a little naive, but what you're essentially saying is that's what America should say to China. We're in essentially the same situation.
It's true. Well, it's a very similar thing. China has a problem, but China's got a bigger problem. If we ever stop doing business with them, or if we ever imposed a tax which would cut down their business very substantially, they'd go into a depression the likes of which you've never seen. Because we're rebuilding China. They're making so much for us. Those factories are bustling, and our factories are dead. You go up to New England and these places and look at the factories, they're dead. There's nothing happening up there. And those factories, you go to China, you have thousands and thousands of people on lines that are working, and they're making American products. So if we ever made it where they have to pay tax, where it all of a sudden became uneconomic for our people to buy, you would have a depression in China the likes of which you've never seen. We're rebuilding China. We're not rebuilding our country, Don. We're rebuilding China, and we're rebuilding it fast. They're building bridges. When was the last time you saw a bridge being built in this country? We don't build bridges anymore. The George Washington Bridge, the Verrazano Bridge. We used to build bridges. Right now they're building 39 bridges or some massive bridges in China. We don't build bridges anymore because it's too expensive. The environmentalists don't let it happen because there's a clam underneath the bridge and you can't do that. And, we don't build anymore. We don't do the big, great projects anymore. But you go to China, it's like you wouldn't believe what's happening over there, and they're doing it with our sweat and with our money.
The bridge we're building is the one to nowhere.
We're building that's right, the tunnel to nowhere. We have the bridge to nowhere and the tunnel to nowhere. That's what we do. Great
so I was talking with K.T. McFarland, who's a very smart woman. Used to be in the State Department with Reagan and Bush and Nixon and so on, going back to even Kissinger. In fact, she was an intern for Kissinger when she was 18. You imagine what's going on there.
Wow.
Anyway, she says to me, she says, well, we're talking about the China thing, and I think I was talking about your position. And she says, well, China is going to develop a market for their products that they make in their own country. And I didn't argue with her because I wasn't intellectually equipped to do so. But it did occur to me that how are they going to sell the products they make to their own people when they're paying them 9 cents an hour to make them? So.
Well, but she is right. They're trying to develop that market. That market isn't there right now in a very big way, but they're trying. You know what's scary, though? Everything we're doing, they're the great copycats. And now, I don't know if you saw, they're trying to make their own jetliner. Well,
yes.
All of a sudden, they're going to be making nothing but trouble for Boeing. they make a deal with Boeing. They take their technology because they order some jets, and they say, yeah, but we want to take that technology. We want this. We want that. And by the way, usually they steal it if they don't take it. I mean, they just steal it.
Yeah.
But what's happening with China is unbelievable, and it's unleashed. And, frankly, the only candidate that I see out there that talks about it is Mitt Romney. It's one of the reasons I endorsed him. Romney's the only one that's out there that's talking about China. He gets it. The other people, you never hear about it in debates, and it's one of our big problems. And OPEC is another one. I mean, OPEC, these guys are sitting around laughing at the stupidity of our leaders. They cannot believe they're getting away with what they're getting away with.
Speaking of Romney and the nomination, what if we get to the point in Tampa, and whenever it is in August or September, when we have a brokered convention? What happens then?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Romney's going to win Michigan. I've been doing programs in Michigan, and it's very interesting. I hope you're proud of me.
I always like it when you get vicious with somebody. That's my favorite part of what you do.
The only one I won't get vicious with is you.
Yeah.
But and by the way, your sidekick was great on Hannity last night. You guys, I mean, that was great.
Bernard's good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's excellent. He's got to do it more. I mean, he was great. But we have to get proper thinking in this country. This country is doing so poorly. People don't realize how poorly it's doing, and we have to get the thinking back, and we have to get that dream back because we're losing it fast.
Have you been to the Garden to see Jeremy Lin?
No, but I will be going in about a week.
Pretty good deal, but it's good for New York, isn't it?
Great. Amazing. Out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's good for business.
Out of nowhere. But all his old coaches thought, why didn't you do this sooner? It wasn't like a coach was surprised.
No.
His ex-coaches all said, well, we knew this. Why didn't you people put him in sooner? So it's a great story.
All right, man. Always nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Don.
Donald Trump here on the Afternoon Program.